Welcome to the Personal Development Mastery Podcast. I'm 𝗁𝗂𝗍𝗄 and my mission is to inspire you to rise up, grow, stand out, and take action towards the next level of your life. I interview leaders, influencers, entrepreneurs, authors, exceptional people who can and will inspire you to improve your life. Tune in for 2 episodes each week and make sure you subscribe to the podcast to get the episodes as soon as they are released. This is the second part of the celebratory conversation with Mahmood Mawjee. If you missed the first half of the conversation, tune in to the previous episode, number 100, where Mahmood talked about living a life of no regrets, serving people, having the perseverance to carry on with your dream. This today is the second part of the conversation. I wish you enjoy it. I wanted to ask because I think it's around this part of your journey. You said earlier that that quote that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I think it was around that time when your own teacher, in the broad sense of the word, appeared in terms of your coach. So can you take us through that journey as well of your transformation? Because there are some very intriguing elements in there which I want to go deeper with you in a moment.
So what happened is, as I started speaking more, I'm like, okay, fine, okay. Now this is something I loved, and I loved it. There was no money coming in from this, except when people invited me, but it was only very little. But it's like, I love this, right? And I used to feel alive. And when you wake up in the morning, you're feeling alive. I'm like, I love this. I'm like, okay, fine. So when you're feeling alive or something, what do? You want to become world class, right? I said, I want to be brilliant. And so I conquered my stutter, okay, by speaking all the time. So that managed to get rid of that. And I'm like, I want to become a phenomenal speaker. I started watching people like Gary Vee and Tony Robbins and all of these guys. I'm like, wow, I want to be as powerful as that. So I started spending more time at Robbins events, and I started training with them, right? So I started training their teams. So that all started working out. Then I started speaking for some other companies within the UK. So what they do is like, there's these, you go to a free event, maybe a property event, right? And then they give you a 3-4 hour talk, and then they upsell you something at the end, right? So I started speaking on self-development and mindset for some of these other companies. Mm-hmm. And the reason I went there is I wanted them to be able to teach me how to speak really, really well. So I knew that if I can work for them, I'm not interested in the money, but I can get the training, the coaching. So, and those people who went there, the owners were great, and they used to coach me so much on how to become brilliant. They taught me how to sell. So I started selling, right? And for each company I went to, I became the best closer. I said, oh, hold on, maybe I'm really good at selling, maybe I'm really good at closing. Why? Because I'm passionate about what I'm selling. And then charities started inviting me because they saw that I'm raising, that I can close well. Then charities started inviting me to talk for them. That, could you come and give us the keynote so then you can raise money. So it's like, okay, fine, I can do that. So I remember there was a trip to New York I was going on, and they invited me to New York, and they needed to raise about $600,000 for a project they were doing. Mm-hmm. I went there, and in 20 minutes, we raised 1.2 million. We raised double, right? And it was like, wow. And I realized, okay, hold on, maybe this is something which I'm great at. And so as that avenue started going along, I got a speaking event in LA. So I was in LA and I had some great people on stage. I was sharing the stage with people like Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple. There was Mel Gibson, right, who I'd looked up to since I was a kid. I had Michael Douglas, again, actor looked up to the kid. And there was kind of Harvey Specter from Suits, someone I really looked up to as well. And so I met all these guys and I actually shared the stage with them. And in the crowd, it's a crowd of about 4,000 people. And in the crowd, I found out that there's a coach in there. And this coach isn't just a normal coach, but he was charging €1 million to coach people. And I was like, what? And by that time, my coaching journey, where I was coaching people on health and mindset, developed, but I was charging tiny amounts, right? Nothing in comparison to what I was earning in dentistry. And I'm like, well, $1 million, how do you do that? How do you charge someone €1 million? I said, I got to meet this guy. So I messaged him on Facebook and I said, look, I want to meet with you. He never got back to me. And every time I tried to meet him, I was surrounded by loads of people. And I remember that was the last night in LA, and I was flying back in the morning, and we got back to the hotel, went out to dinner with some friends. This is in Anaheim, right? So massive, massive hotels. And I just decided to go for a walk. It was 1:30 in the morning, went for a walk. And I saw him sitting there speaking to this other person. And I'm like, inside me, there's this 5-second rule. Mel Robbins' 5-second rule, right? You got 5 seconds to take some sort of action before the mind turns it off. I'm like, okay, fine. What I need to do is I need to go and speak to this guy, right? So I started walking towards him. Yeah. So I go to him and I just stand there, right, while he's talking. And he looks up at me like I'm some weirdo, right? And he goes, how can I help you? And I said, look, yeah, I've been messaging you for the last week and I'm leaving to go back to London in the morning. I know it's 1:30 a.m., but I need to talk to you. And if you don't talk to me, I'm not going anywhere. And I'm like, what's he going to say? And he looked at his clock and he's like, it's 1:30. And I said, I know. But I said, I need to talk to you. And he goes, okay, go and have a seat. So I went to take a seat, thinking it'd be like 5 minutes. It's 55 minutes, yeah? 2:25. He says, come and sit with me. And he's like, okay, well, how can I help you? And I'm like, look, I've heard stories that you charge €1 million. Is that true? He goes, yeah, I charge $1 million. And I go, how? He goes, what do you mean how? I just charge €1 million. I'm like, but how? He's like, have you read my book? And I'm like, no. He's like, okay, go get my book. I'm coming to London next week because I live in France. And I'll come and spend half an hour with you. I'll give you half an hour of my time next week. So it's okay. So I download his book straight away. And then I'm on the flight back and I'm going through the book. And next week I turn up and I see him. And he's like, okay, Mahmood, have you read my book? And I'm like, yeah. And he asked me a few questions to test me, right? I got him right. And he goes to me, how do you want me to help you? And I said, look, right. I said, I'm in dentistry right now and I have to leave. I hate it. I totally hate it. I need to get out. I've started speaking. I've started coaching, but it's not really, it can't sustain my family. I've got 3 kids. I've got a wife. I've got, family. I can't do this. And I need help. And he goes, okay, what would you like me to do? And I said, I'd love you to coach me. He said, well, fine, I can coach you. I said, I want to get to where you are. He goes, yeah, I can help you get to where I am. But, and he's like, I can't afford €1 million. He's like, then what do you want me to do? And he's like, I'm like, can you not do it for free? And his thing is like, well, the truth is in life that if you don't pay, you don't pay attention. And I genuinely believe that right now. Yeah. And, we always say that, give it to me and when I get results, I'll give it back. None of that works. None of that works. And it's only when you've actually invested and your back's against the wall and you've burnt your boats and there's no plan B, that plan A actually works. And I said to him, look, there's no way in the world I can afford that level of money. He said, look, well, I've got another program, which is a group program. You see me 4 times in the year, okay, for a couple of days. And it's this and that. The amount of money for that was ridiculous as well. I'm like, there's no way I can afford this. He's like, okay, so what are you going to do? You're going to go away. I go, I've got no choice. And I started walking away and I said, hold on. Maybe there is a way where I can do this. And he's like, okay, tell me. And I said, my father passed away. He left me some money. And all the money he left me, that's the exact amount that you're asking me for. And he stopped me. He said, Mahmood, can I coach you? And I said, yeah. He said, look, yeah. He said, your biggest problem? And I'm like, what? And he goes, you're so attached to money. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, your father's your father. The money's the money. You've put them two together and you've given so much value to that money. You never flipping let go of it. And I'm like, sometimes something hits you and you think, wow, like, I always say that life isn't linear, right? That you could learn something in one day, what takes someone 20 years to learn, right? And on that one day, what he told me in that one moment hit me so hard, more than anything's ever hit me, because he was right. And I was so attached to money. That for me, money was about, £1,000 in. Fine, I can use that for holiday. I can use that for the kids' fees. There was a transaction value on everything which I earned at the practice, right? And it was all accounted and allocated for. And I was so possessive over that money. And he goes, until you don't let go of money, until you don't become free over money, then you'll never be able to grow. Because money will come and go, but time will never come back. And when you're trading money for time, right, things change. So what I want you to do now is trade money for time, not time for money. I'm like, cool. And at that moment, I felt it, that this was the right thing. I looked at him and I said, look, can you help me get to where I want to get to? He said, where do you want to get to? And I said, look, I want to leave my clinic and I want to make 200 grand in my first year, okay, coaching. And he goes, yeah, fine, I can help you get there, right? And he looked at me and he goes, I promise I'll get you there if you put in the work. And I'm like, I'll do everything. I'll hang around with you 24/7. He goes, no, you can't do that, right? It's only you meet me 4 times in the year, but I'll tell you what to do and that'll be enough. I'm like, cool. And I took that jump and I jumped off the cliff, right? And he said to me that because I've taken that big jump, I'm going to take you to France with me next week where I've got another coaching circle. It's a gift to you. Come in. And that's where kind of everything for me started. Okay, and then in the first year, I made more than 200 grand, made 10 times my investment that I put in him. And I realized the importance of investing in yourself, which is more important than any other investment you make, right? So Aggie, so I turn up to France, right? And like, it's this beautiful hotel, right? And there I meet people there with gifts, right? They found their gift. And I'm like, I couldn't believe these people. Like they were just so passionate about what they did. And I met this guy, he was 20 years old, and the guy's name was John. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Because I'm like, how did he afford to be here, right? And he goes, you know what? I sold my highest coaching package last week. And I'm like, I'm thinking he's going to say 2 or 3 grand. I'm like, how much you sell it for? He goes, 120,000 euros. I'm like, what? How? He told me the story, and I'm like stunned here, right? And I met all these other people right there who were playing this game in life, which were much like their thermostat, right, was flipping on 45 degrees and mine was on 24. And all of a sudden in life, right, sometimes, when you're around the people like that, your thermostat goes up as well, right? So here I am, right? I'm a 24-degree guy, but all of a sudden I'm around these 35-degree people, and I start playing a 35-degree game because I'm around people like that. That's what happens, right? For us who have kids, what do we do when our kids go to school? We don't tell the kids hang around with the drug dealers, and then we hang around with the best of kids. Why? Because it rubs off on them, right? Same as us. It rubs off on us. So I'm like around all these other great people, right? People who've thinking great. They've got a lot of money, right? And all this. And I'm like, it started rubbing off on me already within a few minutes. And I walk into this room, yeah? And then the coaches are sitting there on the table. They go, Mahmood, come in. It was my hot seat time. So I'm sitting on the chair. And they go to me, so why are you here? Like, you know why I'm here? He goes, no, tell us all why you're here. There's another 14 people in the room at this point, right? And I'm like, okay, I've started coaching, but I have no idea what I'm going to coach on. Health isn't really my thing, and I don't know what I'm doing. I want to leave my clinic, but I need the money, and I just don't know where. Everything's a bit of a mess. And they go, okay, fine. They go, do you know what? We've looked at your Facebook profile. We've looked at everything you post out, and we've obviously know about you. And what we realize is you got the gift of speaking. And then they go, we heard you had a starter, you got the gift of speaking now because we've seen you. And also you're on stage and you closed 1.2 million in 20 minutes. And it's like, that's a gift. I go, but it's just normal, right? This is what I do. And he turned around to everyone in the room and he said, how many of you would love to be able to close 1.2 million in 20 minutes? Everyone puts their hands up, right? He goes, okay, fine. He goes, okay, look, they can't do it. You can do it. And he goes, what if you could teach them? I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, look, what if right now your journey is to be able to teach people how to speak really powerfully and to show them how to make a huge amount of money in their business, how to close really well, because that's what you do. And I'm like, but that's not where I want to go. I want to be like the Robins on stage. 10,000. He goes, yeah. Door number 10, Mahmood. You want door number 1, right? He goes, you could either aim for that now and you won't have much money. You have to stay in dentistry because you're aiming for this, you're aiming for the big galaxy. Or why don't we go to something right now which you can do, which can get you out of dentistry, which can earn you enough money to help you grow the business so you can get there anyway. I'm like, okay, cool, that sounds fine. Because what if you could teach people how to speak powerfully and sell? I'm like, okay, done. He goes, how long do you need with someone? I said, give me 2 days with them in a room and I can do that. Plus some coaching before that and 2 days in a room. He goes, okay, fine. He goes, how many people can you do in one go? Like, okay, 10 people in one go. 2 days with them, plus some coaching before that, I can do that. He said, you can turn him into a great speaker. I go, yeah, it's not difficult, right? It's not difficult. And he turns around to the people, how many of you like that? They put their hands up. He goes, okay, fine. And he goes, Mahmood, how much would you like to charge? And I'm like, I'm playing this big game now, right? Because I'm with John outside and all these other guys. And I'm like, you know what? I want to charge £10,000 per person, okay, for the 2 days. He's like, okay, cool. He goes, you sure? I go, yeah. He goes, okay, fine. 3 people in that room put their hand up and said, I'm in. And I'm like, wow. Like, this is 30 grand, right? And I've never seen that level of money in such a short period of time for something which I believed was normal. Yeah. And that's the day when I developed that course, and that's how things started. Okay. So many ups and downs after that, but on that day, I realized that money and time are 2 totally different things. That a lot of time it's like, I've got to work 8 hours a day and I'm earning this much, or I've got a contract from a dentist and every filling I do, like all of a sudden money became something totally different for me. But I'm like, now I realize how this guy can charge $1 million because it's not about the time, but it's about the value, right? That I could give you £1 million of value in one day. And some people will never earn £1 million in their life. Big turning point for me. And that's how everything started.
That's amazing. It's a very empowering as a story. And what I want to stick a little bit with this topic of attachment to money. I think it's important and people can relate to that. And I will share that personally. I'm on my own journey of trying to get free from that, because you mentioned the word or the phrase free of money. So I want to ask Mahmood about, if you could just expand a bit on this, how can someone detach from money? Because you're telling me that you were attached to money and you wanted not to be, and then you tell me that, oh, my goal for next year is to make 200,000 pounds. So for me, that's the confusion for me. How is that detaching from money when the goal is money again, in this particular sense?
Sure. Great question. See, the way I look at it, right now, if you look at a lot of the problems we have in our life, it's because of money, right? Yeah. Either we don't have enough or we want more, right? And, we never think about oxygen because it's abundant. You never think about breathing. But the moment I put my hand around your neck and I begin to squeeze it, the most important thing in your life becomes oxygen, because there's lack of it, right? I look at money in the same way, that when there's an abundance of money in your life, then you don't think about it anymore. But it doesn't mean that the goal is to earn a lot of money. The goal is to be able to get there, but the goal is service. That if you genuinely believe that if you can serve enough people in the best way possible, the most amount of money will come, then that's cool. I needed a financial target because I needed to leave my clinic. And I had X amount of outgoings at home. And if I didn't meet that, the family, it was impossible. Okay. So I had to. So my 200 goal, it's not that I needed the 200, but for me, 200 was a big point, because I'd never earned 200 grand in a year. I never earned that, even as a dentist. So for me, to get to there was like a wow place.
I see.
Yeah, fine. So that's the reason I picked the 200. But I also know that a lot of the problems we have in our lives right now, people say money doesn't buy happiness. And, I don't, money doesn't buy happiness, but money cures a lot of problems, right? And the way I look at money is, the more you have, the more you can give. You can do so much good with money, right? And once you've looked after your initial circle, your family, and then your friends, and then you start looking after the people around you, that's where the true happiness does come in. That happiness isn't about what you have, it's about what you give. And yeah, you can give your time and things like that, but truthfully, sometimes what brings you the most amount of happiness is when you can give something. Like, imagine there's someone in your family who needed a car, and you could just buy it for them without asking them to pay them. You could give them a loan knowing that it may not come back. Like, those things, for me, they make me so happy, right? So I believe that money does buy happiness, because truthfully, a lot of happiness lies in when you can give it away. Okay? And once you've got a certain amount for yourself and for your family that you're going to be okay, right? Then I believe that we've all got a duty to be able to give as much as we can, to be able to build as much as we can. That maybe, maybe like your role, maybe you've been put on this earth to be able to earn $1 billion. And 999,000 of that, whatever, is what you're going to give to everyone, right? Because there are people out there who need to be touched by that. And a lot of people who say, I don't want to earn much, I don't want to this, like, what, they're doing a lot of people disservice. Because when you have the ability to earn, it becomes your duty to earn, and then use that to give to others, right? Because you have the ability to earn, right? If you're a 6-figure person, when you could be a 7-figure person, I genuinely believe that when you die, you'll be questioned on that. But, you earned 500 grand. You put on this earth to earn 10 million. And that rest of that money, that was allocated to, a person in Africa or person. Like, this is what you're meant to do. I really believe that when we die, we'll be shown 2 movies. One movie is going to be the life we had. The other one's going to be the life you could have had. And it's like, how do you match them up right now? So I believe money is hugely important, but not for the reasons why we think, but for the reasons beyond that, for the service, to be able to give, to be able to contribute. Right? Because even when you have a look at some amazing people like Robbins, right? And the question is, right, most people in that place, they don't need to earn any more, like Elon Musk, people like this, they don't need to earn any more money. And when you speak to them, right, the people who don't need to earn end up earning the most. Why? Because they realize that there's a cause bigger than them. Like Elon, he wants to take us all to Mars, right? He wants a different CEO of Mars. That's his why. That's why he's doing things, right? Yeah, he sold all this stuff. He's not interested in the money for himself. He's interested in what it can do for others. So when your goal becomes on service, then I feel that, God, the world rewards you with so much more. And the people who say, money is not important, money doesn't make you happy. I think either what they're trying to do is, I think the main thing they're doing is, when people don't want to get out of their comfort zone and do more, become more, give more, they bring up excuses which are going to allow them to stay where they are.
Exactly.
Yeah. And when people say, money doesn't make you happy, well, maybe it's really you're saying that because you know that you could earn more, but you don't want to go through all of that to be able to get there. And by saying this, it keeps you where you are, and you can satisfy yourself, because most people will say, yeah, money doesn't make you happy. It's fine. Keep what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. And you reminded me of a quote that said, if you think that money doesn't buy you happiness, you haven't given enough of it away. So I think he was trying to say that if you give, eventually you will find out that there is happiness. And there was something that you said about, if you earn X amount and you were destined, or it is your ability, therefore your duty to earn more than that, then you are not fulfilling your potential. And I think it's not a potential in the terms of how much money I've made or earned, or it's the potential as development, as personal development, spiritual development, growing, becoming everything that we can become, reaching our purpose or our duty. And I liked very much also what you said about that abundance concept of oxygen. And I think that for me resonates quite a lot, that when you think of money in the same way like you think of air, basically you don't think about it. You have trust that it will be there for you, as it has been always. Yes. So I think it's a very great metaphor of thinking and having more faith in our abilities and in our destiny, if you will, or the hand that directs the movie, the script, or that it is meant for us to move on and carry on with that.
100%, right? We're all put on here with a gift and a purpose, and we need to find it. And then no one's coming back here. I've always said that. And if we come back, we may be a tree, and what's that going to do, right? So it's like, we make the most of it. And everyone who's listening to this right now has the chance to be able to change things. We're living in an era right now, like our parents never had the opportunities we had. They never, my parents are immigrants that came over here. They didn't have the chance to be able to find their passion and do what they wanted to do. It was, you just got to graft in what you're doing. That was it, right? But we've got so much opportunity right now, so much. And if we can't make it work now, problem.
Yeah, it's like a golden age of opportunity. It's never been so much opportunity. Mahmood, I also wanted to, it's something that you said earlier about, it was when you said that you went into the group of people that were playing life at a completely different game. So I wanted your comment on the peer group or the environment of people that we surround ourselves with, and also how that can influence you holding ourselves in high standards. I'm asking that because I remember very vividly a couple of months ago you said something to me and it made a big impression. I was going through a difficult time or a rough period at that time, and you told me I was having bad days, and you said it's okay, I give for people to have bad day or to have a few bad days, but it's not okay for you to have a bad day. And you told me that I need to hold myself to higher standards than that. And that clicked immediately because I realized that if I was the person that I aspire to be, I would certainly not allow myself to have 4 days in a row of, bad mood and procrastinating and not doing stuff. So the peers, the environment, the people around us will pull us to that high standard, because sometimes it's, I think, and tell me what your thoughts are, it can be difficult to hold ourselves at a high standard without the accountability of peers or a peer group that will make sure that we are or we become who we want to become.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you know what? Jim Rohn has a great quote. You're the average of your 5 closest friends, right? We know that. But what's the practical aspect of that? How do you practically apply that? It's true that the people who you are around the most will be the person you become. So, for example, say you were overweight, right? And you hung around 5 people who have 6-packs, right? You're not going to be overweight for very long because it's a different standard, right? When you go, they're not going to be eating burgers. It's just that whole thing. And it's the same as if you do have a 6-pack and you hang around 5 people who just don't care about what they do and what they eat, your standards will drop very, very, very quickly, right? But during this time, like COVID time, I say you're not just the average of your 5 closest friends, you're the average of your 5 thoughts. Right? Your 5 most frequent thoughts, right? Now, what do you think about the most? Like, what are the thoughts in there? Stress, anxiousness, or is it big plans? So the way you begin to do that is by being around people who can inspire you. So I say, do you know what you do? Like we pick up our phone, just pick up your phone and have a look in 2 places. Number one, who are the last 5 people you called? And they're probably going to be the 5 people you keep in touch with the most normally. Then go to WhatsApp, right? Or Signal, whatever we use now, right? So go to WhatsApp and see the last 5 conversations you've had or the last 5 groups you've been on. And then give them all a rating between 1 and 4. Where 1 is this person or this group inspires me, they push me, they know that I can do better, and they give me that level of encouragement. That's a number 1. Number 2 are those people who are toxic, who are always complaining or just put you down, make you feel crap, things like that, right? So that's number 2. Number 3 is the person who always tells you, it's okay to have 4 bad days, Aggie. It's okay. You're only human, right? And then they're like, you're doing too much. If you wake up at 5:30 a.m. in the morning, it's going to make you sick. Everyone needs 7. They're the people who always tell you that you're doing enough, right? And number 4 are people who don't fit into the above 3 categories, right? And then what you need to do is get more of number 1s, get rid of all the number 2s, and limit the number 3s. Okay? Whether it's WhatsApp groups or whether it's people. And some people, it's like, well, these people are very close to me. Well, fine, well, you've got to make a decision. And sometimes if it's someone very close to you and you can't get rid of them, then I say maybe add in more positive people in your life, right? And kind of dilute the negative effect. So yeah, 100%. As I told you before, I was struggling waking up at 5 a.m. I got 2 friends of mine who wake up at 3 and they document it on Instagram. And it's like, when you wake up 3, I've got a friend of mine who lives in Australia. He's worth about 300 million. He's got a construction firm, amazing guy. I meet him once a year. And he gets into his office at 2 a.m. and he sends me a picture of his Rolex. He takes a photo and he sends it to me. And he starts his day at 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay. Why is he making 300 million? Well, you got to ask yourself, it's the guy who wakes up at 7 a.m. is different, right? From the guy who wakes up at 5, 4, 3, 2. Yeah. But it's hard. How hard is it to wake up at 5 a.m.? It's so tough. But then, hey, if you want a 1% life, you got to do 1% things. Or an extraordinary life, you got to do extraordinary things.
Thank you so much. This has been, actually, you gave some amazing actionable points throughout the conversation, and especially now with what you said, I liked very much going through the WhatsApp groups and your calls and categorizing or putting a rating on the quality of those people or the groups. Mahmood, I have probably 3 times more questions that I wanted to ask you, and I know that we're kind of time, so maybe we can carry on at some point and do a part 2 with some more general topics that very much would like to discuss with you. I would like to ask you also some quick fire questions to start wrapping things up for today. Just when I say quick fire, I don't mean 2 seconds, but I want to test you as well. Tell me first of all then, what does personal development mean to you?
It means life. It means oxygen. It means energy. It's everything. Everything.
If you could,
I can give you more. I'm just giving you a quick fire. Yeah, for me, it's everything. I feel that your level of income will never surpass your personal development, and so everything life's about you. And if you can take responsibility for everything, that everything's your fault, which I believe it is, then you've got to become the best person you have to be to have the kind of life you want to have. So for me, it's all about personal development.
And let's say you could go back in time and meet the 18-year-old Mahmood, and you could give him a piece of advice. What would you say?
I just felt the chills when you said that. You know that? I just felt the chills when you said that.
What would you tell him?
I would probably tell the 18-year-old guy that to go follow dreams as opposed to society norms. So maybe it was okay not to do dentistry, but then I think, hold on, the journey I'm on right now, I came through dentistry anyway, right? But the biggest piece of advice that I would give is go follow your heart. Have some fun. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. One more hypothetical question then. If you could wave a magic wand and change something in the world as it is today, what would you change?
Right now, I would have the world back open. I want events. I miss being around people. Seriously, I use the word stuck because I'm not really stuck, but being on this medium, like I'm a people person, and I want to get back out there in front of thousands of people, which is what I love to do. And right now, with the world closed, if I could have a magic wand right now, what I'd do is I'd get rid of COVID, and I would just reopen the world so we can all meet again. Seriously, that's what I'm missing the most. I'm really missing that.
Yeah.
But then COVID has brought its own blessings. Massive blessings.
Of course, there is always opportunity in the
massive blessings.
Crisis. But I think most people would agree with you, and they would wave their magic wand towards that direction. Out of, let's say, everything we spoke about today, emerging from all of this, if you were to give to the listener one actionable item, something they can utilize straight away or tomorrow morning and move their life to the next level, what action would you advise?
Wake up 1.5 hours earlier than you normally do. That's it, nothing else. That's the only thing I would do. Wake up 1.5 hours earlier than you normally do, and that's it. I don't care. Whatever you do in that time, you can do whatever you want. You can at least 1.5 hours, and then the rest will come.
And the thing is, there's no way that you're going to wake up so early and watch Netflix, is it? You're going to do something constructive with that time.
You don't hear people saying, oh man, woke up at 5 a.m., I wasted my time, I watched Netflix. You've never heard that. You've never heard that.
Pretty much more alert, I know we spoke about all sorts of diverse things, and I know that I had more things that I wanted to discuss, but we didn't have time. Is there anything from your part that you were hoping we would discuss today and we completely missed it?
Not at all. For me, it was a genuine honor to be here on the 100th one.
The honor is mine, Mahmood. It's mutual.
Because in a few years' time, when there'll be even more millions of people watching this and whatever, it's something I can say that I knew Aggie when he did his 100th one, right? Yeah, and so I've got to know you quite well over the last 6 months, and it's been a pleasure knowing you. And for me, I don't let everyone into my circle, as you know, because the people who come into my circle have to be like, it's that circle. That they have to be someone who can inspire. I also the clients I have, like you, right? I want to learn from my clients. I'm not all-knowing. I'm nothing like that. All I am is I'm kind of one step ahead or whatever, half a step ahead of, the people I'm working with. That's it. But I bring people into my circle who can inspire me, who can push me, who can get me to be a better person. And what I've learned from you is amazing. Right? Just your sheer dedication. You turn up every single day, no matter what. You'll push through. You'll have those hard conversations. Like you listen. You go out and do the things we ask you to do. And for me, that's that. I've learned so much from you. So no, 100%. I was excited to be here, as you know, really excited.
Me too. Thank you.
And seriously, this journey for you is going to be amazing. It's amazing already, but it's going to be, there's going to be so much more.
If there's something, Mahmood, that if I could summarize my whole knowledge, what I've learned, and distill it in one phrase, it would be something like, it is about the journey. So it's always about moving on and doing and believing that I'm only beginning. There's so much more ahead, even though it's not guaranteed, but it's great to appreciate the journey. That's what I've learned all these years, really. Can you share how can people find out more about you? How can they connect with you?
100%. Best places would be Instagram, would be Facebook. So just under my name, Mahmood Mawjee, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And so I try to put a lot of content out on YouTube and on Instagram. So probably they're the best places. And yeah, I would love to be able to, just hear from the people who've listened to this and see, has there been anything on here which has helped them to be able to get to that next level of their life? For me, that is really important. So yeah, whoever's listening, please do message. I'd love to be able to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you once again. This has been a beyond fascinating conversation. I want to wish you all the best, Mahmood. Any last parting words from you?
One life, right? This is my last parting word with everything. It's like, one life, no one's coming back. Yeah. And life isn't about how long you lived. It's about what you've done when you were alive, right? That's it. Right. And what did you could live for 20 years, but have the most impactful life that someone lived for 100 couldn't. And if we realize that we're here for a purpose and we live according to that, then life becomes amazing. You earn more than you ever thought you could earn, and you leave your mark. And for me, I do want to leave my mark. I want people to remember me. I want people to watch my stuff long after I'm not here and say, wow, do you know what? That guy inspired us. And for me, that's everything.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and rate Personal Development Mastery on Apple Podcasts, and also share this episode with someone who you think will benefit from it. If you want to become part of an exclusive community, gain access to unique content, and at the same time support this podcast, then become my patron. The link is in the show notes, or you can type bit.ly/pdmpat. If you want to know more about what I do and how I can help you, join my Facebook group Personal Development Mastery. Again, the link is in the show notes, or you can simply type bit.ly/pdmgroup. And until next time, stand out, don't fit in.